Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I'll give a few seconds until everybody is in, but I would like to just welcome everyone. This is our second webinar. I'm very excited to have our guest today. I am your host. I'm Paula Macaggi. I am the head of partnerships and global strategy here at RETHINK Retail. And I'm excited today to talk about a very curious and intriguing topic, I would say, which is bringing online experiences into stores. And e-commerce is just basically part of our lives. Some generations were born already into it. Some others were very much forced into it during the pandemic. So now more than ever, consumers are expecting that flexibility, hyper-personalization, and even, the convenience of shopping online also in stores, pretty much combined with the relationship building and immediacy that you have in stores. I have three guests today, three retail experts that can enlighten with us with their extensive experience in the industry. I have the top retail influencers, Russo and Hitha Herzog, as well as Tony Walsh, who is the VP of Payment Solutions and Payment Solution Sales at Ingenico. Thanks everyone for coming. Anthony, I will start asking you actually, how do you personally see the recent shift in consumer expectations, either as the result of the pandemic or just as general response to technologies?
Yeah, Paula, thank you. I'd have to say it's the latter. It's really the emerging technologies that are driving this kind of confluence of retail online, retail in store. The pandemic absolutely pushed us there a little quicker than we would have, especially that generation you spoke of in your open that were learning the online ergonomic and then, but had a little bit of that in-store experience, and that we all fled to online. So I really believe, though, that we were going that way, and the retail community always strives to, I always say that the best payment technology we can deploy is the one that the guest wants, right? And so if that's at home or in the store or any payment type in the store or online, that's where it's at for retail and that guest relationship, I think. So I think emerging technology is taking us there. The pandemic pushed us.
I would agree with you, Anthony, because I think that being that we were out of stores for a while, and when we went back, it felt like going back in time, where it was like, wait, what? I have to do it this way now. You got programmed, like your card is all in for automatic checkout, and it's a one click or some form of convenience in that way. So the touch points at certain points inside when we went back in felt like they needed to be refreshed, and we're here to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd say too, it's nice to be able to sit on the couch prior to purchasing it, because I think I have maybe styrofoam wrapped in fabric right now as a couch, because you can't get in the store and see it, touch it. So unless you're sitting on one of your friends' couches, you don't know what to order. So I think that 41% of purchasers still want to purchase in store, and 31% of that 41% just want to touch it, want to see it. So I agree with you.
I think there's also a real delineation. I mean, we're all pretty much saying the same thing between what happened during the pandemic, how we shopped pre-pandemic, and then as we shopped after the pandemic. I don't know about you, but it feels like the world has sped up. I mean, maybe it has, maybe there's some sort of astronomical thing that's happening where it just feels faster. But I think this also applies to the way we shop, and certainly when we check out. I know we were just talking about, my experience in a cab here in New York City, and there's the Ingenico payment system where you can get in and out of a cab, and everything happens in a New York minute here. I'm based here in New York, but that same sort of shopping yearn is applicable to any forms of checkout and any forms of shopping. And I want to throw out this statistic too. I know I told you all this, but for our audience, Manhattan Associates had this research that came out And at the top of the research, they said that about a third of the US population is younger than Amazon. Now, granted, that just is really kind of showing how young the population is, how everyone is so geared towards shopping via e-commerce and online. But there's also the other 2/3 of the population, which is older, but are also becoming very accustomed to that. So absolutely, I think while brick and mortar is not dead, people still like to go into those stores. To Tony's point, I think that there is definitely just I don't know if an urgency, but certainly people want to see things, but they also want to get in there and out of there pretty quick.
Yeah.
100%. And Christine, I'd love to know from you, what do you feel is the most urgent way in which brick and mortar locations can bring the online experience into storefronts?
I think one camp would say personalization, because that's one of the hyper benefits of being online. Another camp would say payments. I'm in the payments camp. I believe very strongly that the payment piece of a brick and mortar experience needs to be as robust, as seamless, as easy, as mindless as what's going on online. So what types of technology can help customers achieve that? So one thing we've seen is, and this was, I think, I'm not sure timing wise, maybe some of my panelists know, but we for sure have migrated away from like a human being checkout, and we want to just do it ourselves. We're like, okay, I just want to not chit chat, and I just want to do it myself. But I think where we're headed is, and I think that's a stepping stone, because I think where we're headed is fully mobile on our phone checkout, which in a sense will be full circle to an actual online checkout. So I think that's my area that I would throw my hat in. And as I said, there would be different opinions. I'd love to hear what everyone has to say, but that's where I think it's critically evolving quickly, and also is probably the most important.
I gotta say, Christine, I think a lot of people also want that experience in stores. And I kind of point to the flagship store here in New York for Nordstrom, where you walk in and you have this shopping experience, but you can go eat. And I mean, I know everyone has a restaurant in their stores these days, but they send the food to you as you're shopping, and there is media. You could watch a movie if you want. Let's say you're just done shopping and want to watch a movie for an hour and a half. You could go ahead and do that. It really, or if you want to go get a facial, you want to just spend the day at Nordstrom and get everything done. It's all kind of there. And I think that focus on experience is also very crucial, especially in brick and mortar. But I do have to say, to Tony's point, I'm probably sitting on the same styrofoam couch, right? If I'm on the sofa and my phone is across the room, I am definitely not going shopping. Like, I need to be able to mobile check out immediately, or that cart's abandoned. I've just abandoned the thought of shopping. It's just gone. I'm going to watch Netflix at that point.
Yeah, you described the Nordstrom experience, but I having spent some time working technology in restaurants, I have this kind of vision of the add a cookie, right? The add a cookie is always the experience where, take a retailer like Panera that has a really slick interface online and how you go pick up in the store. We love that because we don't have to interact with anybody, right? Like I said, the best payment experience is the one the guest prefers. So I might shop at Panera because they have a frictionless way of getting my food versus maybe somewhere else where it's going to take me a little longer. However, when I get to the location and I want to add something, I don't want to break out my payment method. I just want to be able to use that high value token that the restaurant operator has already captured of Tony Walsh, and use that as my payment methodology and says, hey, can I add the cookie? Yes, you can. Cool. See you later. I don't have to break out a payment type. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to interact with the device. And that's sort of really kind of connecting that online experience to the brick and mortar experience is a great example, I think, as the way we start to see this kind of unfold with more pickup in store.
Cool. And I just want to remind everybody that is watching us that you are more than welcome to send any question. I got a question here from the audience asking if we heard about this new way to check out lanes in Europe. Do you know anything about it?
There was an article this morning about slow checkout lanes where people can choose a checkout lane, I think in the Netherlands, that have human beings where they choose to chat. So to me, it's comparable. I don't know if that's what the question is about. Maybe they can respond, but it's kind of like, you know, when you do an Uber reservation, they're like, do you want to chat? Do you want to not chat? Do you want your route, your temperature like this? I mean, going back to Tony's point is, you know, or Burger King's point, have it your way. And so if someone, and I do think that there are probably a lot of people who, certainly probably older, but a trip to the store was an important part of their socialization of their day. And I get
Definitely
that.
my dad's part of social life is pretty much going to the supermarket every day. He goes and talks to everyone. He likes to stay on the line.
Well, I did see an article that that's an actual option in this particular store. So I think optionality is probably like the overarching like theme to kind of where the world is right now.
Cool. And Hitha, in case you haven't mentioned yet, what are some of the other key ways in which the benefits of e-commerce can bring to stores?
Well, one thing I think that we, you know, of course, hear getting tossed around a lot is data, right? Access to data. And it's really shocking. I was looking through this report that Manhattan Associates came out with again, and they interviewed about 124 different stores across 11 different sectors. And they found that about 38% of stores are not giving their store associates access to personalized data of their customers. And what ends up happening, you know, to everyone's point, is that we don't get that personalization. When you have better access and the ability to analyze those data points, that personalization just gets better, and we're able to serve the customer better, and we're able to have that customer stick around even further. When it comes to e-commerce too, I mean, the same applies to digital ads. So I worked on part of my fellowship with RXN Group here in New York. And actually they're not, I'm in New York, they're in Washington. And we were talking about digital ads in that space and how that is increasing, especially for small businesses. So we are seeing not only the access to data, the need for that data to become more accessible, but also the way that advertising is being implemented. Certainly for small businesses, it's increasing via the digital ad space. So I think, you know, when we understand that as retailers, or when retailers understand that, I think then they can make specific, very targeted decisions to retain and serve their customers better.
Do you think that retailers already know how to use all this data? Do you think there's a long way still, or how is the level of data and personalization that you can have in store?
I think that retailers on a certain level, right? I'm sure there's a department out there that, you know, with every bigger retailer that is getting the data and analyzing it from a high level. The issue is, how do you explain that to your store associates, and how do you train them so that they can quickly look at the data and understand that, you know, my mom, Dr. Prabhakar, is walking into the store and she likes to shop at Talbot's. And she's gone to a store and she's looking for a specific floral shirt. They can identify her very quickly and show her options, because she only wears patterns for that shirt to be purchased. I think that is the issue with data now. It's so high level and there's so many dumps of the numbers that when you're talking to sales associates, they need to understand that very quickly. And when a customer comes in, they can just quickly target them and then sell to them.
Yeah, I think that the trick with data is what's relevant, right? And the trick to data is, how can you, data and loyalty have been kind of Hatfield and McCoys for many years, because the data is there, but capturing it's the challenge. How do you mine it? How do you make it presentable? But then more importantly, then how do you tie that back to that consumer? And you can almost reverse it. Ingenico is looking at technologies where you can reverse the capturing of the data trend from online to in store, but maybe tying that data to the credit card that we prefer. I mean, I would think that of the folks on the phone that we pretty much shop with one card if we're going to pull a card out of our wallet. If we're not using our phone, we probably have a card and it's the same card we use over and over again. So we're looking at technologies that actually capture the consumer basket of goods and tie it to the card. Therefore, I now have a way to identify Hitha. When you insert your card, tap it, and I can look at your buying behavior, but I also have a way to outreach you and say, hey, Hitha, you've been in the store now 6 times and you've only bought floral patterns, but why don't we move you over here to this area of the store where I'd like you to be? And that's data power there. And I think with some of the solutions that Ingenico is deploying, such as our PPAS cloud-based solution, tying that back to Android solutions in the store, we can kind of open the world a little bit more than we can with just that transaction you described in the cab today, because there's 2 types of transactions, in my opinion. One is safe, quick, out of the store, right? The other is the journey, which is not safe, quick, and get me out of the cab before somebody honks at you, right? So I think there's just kind of 2 ways to look at it, and how we have to merge online to brick and mortar, being mindful of what that retail experience really wants to be.
Tony, nothing would make me more happy than if a store said, Hitha, I know you're going on vacation for spring break with your kids, and it's probably going to be this weather where you're going. Can we suggest some sweaters for you in these colors? That just would, and here's the payment for you. Go ahead, just swipe here and you're out the door in your size. I mean, that is crazy personalization, and I would love it. Nothing would make me more happy. As a busy mom of twin toddlers, I would just, yeah, that would make my life.
That definitely exists in full force online, and right. So how do we bring that in brick and mortar? And Tony, I would like to know a little more as they're leaving and paying, that when you're identifying them, how you would reroute them back to another department. That's one of the challenges of brick and mortar, but I know you can identify, or not you, but payments types of technology can identify certain behaviors. And again, I don't know what it means, but like serial returners, for example, currently can be identified in brick and mortar. That's like a statement and a question. Is that accurate?
So I was kind of flipping the paradigm around a little bit and thinking of it that if I take the data that I gather in the store, I've collected an email address at some point in your journey, right? Whether you started online or I captured it in the store. Now the retailer can use that data to reach out to you proactively through social media, through SMS, through email, and suggest proactively things. So whether it's a clothing apparel retailer or it's, pharmaceutical retailer, bottom line is we kind of shop in certain segmented parts of the store, right? And maybe that pharmaceutical retailer wants to push you more away from the makeup counter or wherever you're buying stuff, and to another part of the store where they want to see your spend increase. And so I think there's an opportunity to flip the paradigm from just starting the journey online and completing it in the store versus the store experience being moved into really multiple cloud touch points.
Okay.
I got married too to digital ads. I mean, just really quickly, because I'm seeing, from Data Catalyst and RXN Group, that increased spend, specifically for those small businesses. I can imagine they could use that data for more specific digital ads. And you were talking about SMS. I was actually following someone. I don't know if you know him. Now I'm forgetting his name. Sorry, everyone. I apologize, but he's an SMS marketer on Twitter. Sorry, but that's really helpful, right? I can put it in the chat if that's helpful. I can look him up really quickly, but he's a, kind of like a renowned SMS marketer. And he was talking about what happens when you send out that SMS and, how to effectively use that if you are using this e-commerce sort of digital space. And it was just fascinating to kind of hear it from his perspective of like how expensive SMS to use that is, but at the same time, like how you can get the most of that.
Yeah, I think probably the most impactful way right now, and it's all changing very quickly, as we were saying, is retail media networks in the store, where it's engaging with you in the aisle, on the end cap, in your journey. You're interacting with it, And that is probably the closest thing to discovery in brick and mortar that emulates online. And what you guys are talking about is like take the lens out a little bit bigger, which is I left the store. Now they have my information. So they're going to ping me on stuff, whether Tony, email, Hitha, SMS, and going to intrigue me to come back. And that is also part of the big ecosystem. But when we talk about emulating like online, I'm on the screen and I'm searching and discovering what's the blueprint of that in store. That's the holy grail. And so there's various ways to accomplish that. We've touched on them. And yet it's wherever you're just like touching, you're interacting. So yes, you have the experiences which you don't have online. So yes, that will definitely set apart and drive you into store. Then you have these, oh, you're here, look at this, while you're in the store. And then of course, checkout, which I think is actually the easiest to just be as much like online as possible.
We are having a lot of questions, especially when we talk about personalization. We got a few questions when it comes to privacy. One of the questions is, how do you identify customers who want to be anonymous, possibly because they do not trust retailers with their data?
I think every one of these programs have to be an opt-in, right? I mean, I think the experience is so engaged that, I mean, we all probably opted out of several things just today. I mean, I know I have. So I think we really have to give the guest the opportunity to opt out of any of these programs. Otherwise, it can be invasive and you could ruin your trust with the consumer as a retailer.
Trust is the key word. It's such a fragile, it's hard earned and easily vanishes.
And I believe when you opt in is because you saw the value of having all the personalization back to you, right? So yeah, that was another question. If the payment solutions would give the store the email and anything, which I would love to ask you. That's a no, I guess.
What was the question again?
Yeah, sorry.
The question is specific for Tony. I believe payments do not give automatically. They store the email of the customer or their cell phone without their permission. Which I guess is yes, no permission. It's always opt-in.
Yeah, I think it's a demographic thing too, right? I mean, especially when you think about what's 80-70% of the wealth in the US is controlled by the older demographic, right? What we're seeing is younger folks are coming in, they're getting increased, they're getting jobs, they're getting money. So now we're really dealing with the millennials and they're going to opt into everything. They're going to just be, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty discerning what I want to come through, even my junk email. I don't want to clean it out all the time. So, but you'll see, I think they're getting this as the younger generations earn money, have more money to spend. They'll be the opt-iners. They'll be the ones we're going to be really engaging in this new journey with.
I think the answer is in store. It shows up, not at checkout. Like, hey, can I have your phone number? That's old. That's done. The way stores go about it is with loyalty programs and with apps. So they give something to the customer. Hey, do this. Sign up for our app. Or join this loyalty program. And sometimes they're the same thing. And in exchange, you will give us your first party information, email, etc. And then we will prove to you that this is worth your while. So we're going to give you this. You're going to give us this. Now we have a relationship. And now we're going to send you discounts. We're going to send you selections that really suit you and earn and build that trust over time. It's not being done at checkout, just like, hey, can I get your email?
Yeah, I think too, it's interesting because you're right. Like you're getting all this personalized information, but again, the retailer isn't really doing much with it. So, going back to this Manhattan Associates unified benchmark, it's in 20% of retailers only really give personalized offers and suggestions, even when they have all this data. So maybe it's the trust aspect, but then if you gain that trust, you actually, as a retailer, specifically give things that are, in a sort of older term, surprise and delight the customer, so they stick around and they're like, okay, if I give you all this information, then it's going to work for me as well.
But I think
40 Go ahead, Christine, sorry.
40 million, 400 million. It's a 4 and a 0 for sure. And maybe one more 0, but I think it's 40 million members of Ulta's loyalty program actively opted in, and they get a lot for it. And Chipotle also has a huge loyalty program. So that's why just giving your email and being on the receiving end of emails, yes, they can segment you based on your online and some in-store activity, but the robust programs are ones that are really built for those true opt-ins. And those might not be showing up in the Manhattan Associates report. I'm not quite sure. It sounds to me like once it hits a loyalty opt-in, they're not this other segment that they're measuring.
I just had an experience last weekend when I went to this retailer that I always go. And at the moment I was checking out, they asked me to scan my QR code. I was like, wait, what? It wasn't my app. And now I have all personalized from them from one time that I shopped there. And I absolutely love. I just bought something else online today. So they do have my personalized data, and I'm happy to give that to them because now everything is fitting to me. But I'd love to go to the next question because our time is almost up. Anthony, what are some key differences between checkout experiences online versus in-store today? And where can in-store checkout processes best innovate in the short term?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a few, right? Just a couple of anecdotal examples. Is think about buy now, pay later. It's becoming such a big trend. As a matter of fact, and we work with the largest payment acquirers in the US, and it's now table stakes. We have to have the technology, we have to have it available, not only for online purchasing, but namely in the store. When you go to check out online, go do something, go buy something in a little while when you wrap up the phone. If it's executed correctly, there'll be a plethora of different choices you can choose. If you use a MasterCard, Amex, and now the Apple, that online Google, online virtual card, and now buy now, pay later is becoming a payment type, right? So an example of that is now I not only do I have a choice online to buy now and pay later, but now I'm taking an online experience and bringing it to the store. I could use my Apple VAS as Apple begins to bring and add value to your phone. I mean, that's pretty exciting because how many people have provisioned a payment vehicle? Your favorite one, which is my Amex Delta card, is in my phone. I reach for this phone about 1% of the time to make my payment. I'm a technologist, but my card is the thing that comes out of my pocket first. So why is that, right? Well, because we haven't tied any real value to the application. Until I start receiving value, whether it's Google Pay or Apple VAS or others that are coming, it's useless. So I think as we start to see how do we pay online and how we can bring it to the store, again, we're moving from proprietary operating systems on payment devices, payment systems, and payment software to more open Android. We're opening the universe for getting that payment that we were so used to online. Let's bring it to the store. Let's make that payment experience kind of the same way where we want to shop. I think that's important, but it's kind of funny when you start thinking about the story. Think about how many times you use your phone. You may all use your phone. I might be the minority. But
I've been paying with my watch now. Just so
okay,
you know.
Perfect. All right, you're there. Okay, so we're getting there, but yeah,
we're not of the generation that pays with their phone. But you are a minority. But thank you for sharing your voice and representing.
I think I pay with my phone 9 out of 10 times a day. I don't think I ever pull my card out of my wallet. It's just my phone is there. I'm probably texting and doing a million things, and the phone payment is for me anyway. Change.
So I talk to large retailers in the country on almost a daily basis. It's fascinating. Less than 15% of the transactions in traditional brick and mortar across, whether it be petroleum or pharmaceutical or do-it-yourself or any type of retailer, is under 15% contactless. That includes phone.
But it's like when the internet came on and it was like only 10% of retailers are on the internet, because when you're talking to this wide of a group, the representation is smaller. So if you go, let's say, to the college bookstore market, and there's, 12 to however many college bookstores there are, 95% of those people are paying with their phone, because it's so focused on
Sure.
Gen
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
So pull the lens back, pull it out. Now, those people who are going in the bookstore, maybe buying a sweatshirt and paying with their phone, they're not going to the stores. They're always going to be underrepresented. You're never going to see that tap to pay with the phone in a lot of stores, because they're solely online.
Well,
So,
from a Ingenico perspective, we would love to get everybody tapping. Tap.
Me too.
Tap's
By the
great.
way, I just want to tell everyone really quickly, because I know we have to wrap up. Jimmy Kim from Send Lane, that's the guy I follow on Twitter who does all the SMS. Really interesting stuff, guys. Like, I'm obviously not associated with him. I just read his stuff. It's so fascinating what he has to say. Check him out.
Thank you, Hitha. Thank you. Well, we have to wrap up this conversation. It was very nice. Unfortunately, I couldn't go over all the questions that we received. Tony, if anybody has a specific question, how they can contact you?
You can reach out to me directly at anthony.walsh, WALSH, @ingenico.com.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching with us. Thanks for our guests.
guys.
I wish we had
Thank
another
you.
30 minutes.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.